Hello and welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that takes you from 2010 all the way up to the present day, hopefully, in the Codemasters F1 games, driving the cars that were not so great, to put it nicely. We're in the Virgin Racing VR01, we're still in 2010, but we are just a couple of rounds away from the end of the season. We're at round 17, Yongam, South Korea, the first appearance of this circuit in the history of Formula One. And the first time we've driven it since it dropped off the calendar in, 2012, 2013? Not long after it started. So we're going to have to relearn this place. Hopefully, though, it won't be as bad as a circuit we should know very well, which was Suzuka in the last round. It was not a good race. It was the true Virgin Racing experience. We finished 17th and 18th after qualifying, 19th on the grid for us and 23rd for Degrassi. Just by the virtue of other people dropping out of the race. Webber dropped out, Button dropped out, Rosberg dropped out. There were some big names that didn't make the end. And that meant that Vitaly Petrov now comes up behind us. He finished second. He's 8 points behind us and jumped Kubica. We're 15 behind Schumacher, who also scored. At the other end, Mark Webber didn't finish. Vettel now within 21 points of his teammate. Fernando Alonso there in third, just a point ahead of Hamilton, with Massa, Button, Rosberg behind. The biggest news, though, came lower down the order. You'll see that Sutil, Liuzzi, Hulkenberg, Alguersuari, Buemi, Kobayashi, Kovalainen had already scored points, but Karun Chandok took 9th and Bruno Senna took 10th. A double point score for the HRT, the only one of the new teams to double point score. And they moved to 19th and 21st, with Barrichello there in 20th. Della Rosa had already scored this season. Trulli and Degrassi, the only drivers not to have scored. And to be honest, Degrassi hasn't looked anywhere near points this season, so they might remain the only two on zero. In the Constructors, Red Bull have already taken that title quite comfortably. Ferrari there fighting for second, but they've got a little bit of a grip over that position ahead of McLaren. Mercedes on their own in fourth. Renault in fifth, moved a little bit further away from us. Force India still 11 points behind. Toro Rosso in eighth there with 24. And then it's Williams, Sauber, Lotus and HRT just 2 points behind the Lotus team. So it's going to be interesting for the final few races of this season. Can we hold on to a top 6 position, if we can maybe even try and reel Renault back in? Can HRT jump Lotus? Can they even jump Sauber? We'll see. And can we remain in the top 10? That's kind of our aim at the moment. We're 22 clear of Kubica with 3 rounds left to run. But South Korea, as I say, a circuit we've not driven at all since the last time it was on the calendar. Much like the likes of Turkey, Valencia and Hockenheim this season, though, races at circuits we've not driven for a while have actually ended up going okay. Some decent results, obviously third at Hockenheim, 6th or 7th, I think it was, in Valencia, and a similar sort of result in Turkey. So fingers crossed, this will follow that trend. But we've got to go and relearn this place. So while we do that in practice, let's have a little talk about the real 2010 Korean Grand Prix. Round 17 of the 2010 season saw the teams head to South Korea for the first time, though the race was close to not going ahead after threats from Bernie Eccleston of pulling the race and replacing it with Manicourt in France. Firstly, due to rising tensions between North and South Korea, which thankfully abated, and secondly, due to the delayed construction of the new circuit, with the top layer of asphalt only being laid 10 days before the race, leading to a particularly slippery set of conditions. The practice session saw a mixed group of leaders. Hamilton topped the first session, Webber the second, and Robert Kubica, who had been in and around the frontrunners in the earlier sessions, leading away in the final one. But between the Friday and Saturday sessions, Charlie Whiting took on board concerns from the drivers, mandating a raising of the curb at turn 16, pushing back the wall and adding a curb to turn 18 to avoid an accumulation of stones and dirt, along with a lot of additional cleaning. Drivers were also advised there'd be no penalties for entering the pits from the racing line due to the unique and slightly blind pit entry.
Great lap. That's the fastest for the session so far.
There were once again no surprises in the first part of qualifying. Liuzzi joined the new teams at the back of the grid, though Timo Glock did get amongst the Lotus cars, which is something that he'd not managed for a little bit, just behind Jarno Trulli, while Petrov made it through into Q2. However, an error on his lap meant that he could only make 15th, later dropping to 20th, after a penalty for his part in the opening lap incidents in Japan, meaning that he would also fall amongst the Virgin Racing and Lotus cars. It was Red Bull once again though, they locked out the front row. Vettel led Webber with Alonso in third, Hamilton took fourth, while Button could only manage 7th in his very outside bid for the driver's title. There was rain overnight and into the race, seeing Massa, Senna and Glock off-road during their recon laps, though all of them avoided any damage. The start was delayed by 10 minutes due to standing water, though it was decided that the race would start behind the safety car. That only lasted for 3 laps though before the race was suspended by the race directors. The conditions didn't improve and the drivers really didn't have any confidence that they'd be able to make it rain without incident. There was a 45-minute delay, and when the race did eventually restart, it was once again behind the safety car. That led to 14 laps of safety car running, which included some drivers leaving the track, a few pitting, and 1 or 2 venturing different tyres before the green flag was flown. Vettel led the field away and managed to pull away from Webber behind, although it was only 1 lap before the safety car came back out again. Mark Webber lost control of his car on a curb, spinning between turns 12 and 13, and collected Nico Rosberg, who was unable to stop in time. Both drivers retired on the spot, while Vettel continued to lead behind the safety car. Alonso was now in second, with Hamilton in third. But once the safety car returned to the pits, Vettel began to pull away from the field, though there were overtakes up and down the order in incredibly tricky conditions. It wouldn't be long before the safety car came back out again though, this time after Buemi crashed into Timo Glock into turn 3, causing both to retire. Most took this opportunity to move to the intermediate tyres, although Alonso lost time entering the box sideways, the mechanic on the front right wheel losing the wheel nut and having to get a replacement, meaning that Hamilton moved ahead of him. After the safety car once again returned to the pits, Hamilton attacked Vettel into turn 1 but ran deep, leaving the door open for Alonso to move back into second after Massa, who was originally second, had pitted a lap later than Hamilton and Alonso. It was another few laps before a dry line began to appear, though conditions were still pretty tricky, as demonstrated by Vitaly Petrov as he dropped the rear of the car and hit the pit entry. It was Alonso, though, who was on a bit of a charge, closing rapidly on Vettel. On lap 43, Charlie Whiting advised the teams that the race would only run for a further 25 minutes as the sunset was rapidly approaching in South Korea. Vettel, however, would only last 3 laps. He lost half his engine capacity, eventually retiring from the race and leaving Alonso to cruise to victory ahead of Hamilton and Massa. Schumacher would take 4th, ahead of Kubica, while Button's slim championship hopes were dealt a crushing blow as he finished out the points. HRT were last of the classified finishers in 14th and 15th, but crucially, it was their best result of the year, bettering Virgin Racing's best combined results, therefore putting Virgin Racing at the bottom of the pile. Alonso would take the championship lead from Webber, with Hamilton moving into 3rd ahead of Vettel. What about for us, though, heading into the inaugural Korean Grand Prix? Well, unlike Turkey and Valencia early in the season, I've not been able to get back into the rhythm of this place. It's so far proven to be a bit of a tricky circuit to get on pace with. It doesn't feel like it flows, and you've probably seen I've had incidents and spins through my practice laps. So much like Japan, we shouldn't be aiming anywhere out of Q1 really. So we'll set our lowest expectation of this season, and let's just try to scrape a top 20 and get 20th place here in Korea. In the garage then for Q1 at Yongyam, and practice resulted in some incidents. They have collided with a couple of cars. It's a tough circuit to really build a rhythm on. It's a really weird layout, this one. So this might, much like Suzuka, be a place that we struggle at. But I've thought that going into the likes of Turkey and Valencia this season, and come out with a much better result. So let's get out there, get some laps on the board, and see what the fastest lap of this session can do for us.
Okay, you need to pit before you run out of fuel. Pit within 2 laps.
So then, fastest lap of Q1, and as you can see, it's taken us 7 laps, or at least 6 to get to this point. Not too bad into turn 1. You'll see that becomes a bit of a problem as the rest of the weekend goes on, but we're running out of time and we're right on the bubble, really just trying to maybe just scrape one spot. But heading down this long straight into turn number 3, keeping it nice and tidy through here, not running too wide, not clipping the inside curb. You can see tyre marks from where it had already spun in the session. Once again, heading out into turn number 4, you can also just about on the mini-map there see that Nico Rosberg's not far ahead. Really hoping he's not going to compromise our lap. This is the section of the track, though, that I just can't seem to fix any rhythm for. Just doesn't feel like it flows. But Sector 1, already 7 tenths up, doing okay. Rosberg appears to be backing off mid-lap. And will not quite get out of our way. We run wide trying to avoid the Mercedes and then bounce over the curb once again, trying to keep out of the way of the Mercedes. We bump the back of the car, which is going to cost us a little bit of time. Always just waiting to get on the power there, and same here as well. Just all scruffy. And we've actually lost a little bit of time, probably stuck behind Rosberg. So far, though, we're thinking our first sector may have just saved us into this tricky technical little final bit. Feel the back end slipping just a little there, but we'll round this final corner and gun it for the line. And as you'll see, we'll just about scrape in.
Lap moved you into 17th place. We're much higher up the field than we expected to be. Good job.
We narrowly avoid a Q1 exit in Korea by a Hail Mary lap near the end to just have us jump over Hulkenberg. Alguersuari, Trulli, Kovalainen, Senna, Chandok and Degrassi all out in Q1. I don't think we've got the pace to go any faster than this. So expect a P17, but let's get into Q2 and see what sort of lap time we can put together. In the garage for Q2 at Korea, and the rain has started, so it's an intermediate session, which could level the playing field a touch, could also see us spin off and destroy the car. But let's get out there in these conditions, get a lap on the board, and if they improve, go out on the dries, see what happens. But what does our best lap do for us in Q2?
We've dropped down to second. Push for first if you can.
So then, the fastest lap in Q2, and if you've been paying attention through the season or remember your tyre designations for 2010, you can see that actually we've got the full wet tyres on. We've gone out and we've done a lap on the intermediates earlier on and actually taken provisional pole. Webber's the only person that's managed to jump us. But we feel like that we're going to lose time in this session. But it's all just about keeping it clean. We know the AI struggle in these sorts of conditions, and as you can see, we've managed to get through the first couple of corners without too much incident whatsoever. Into turn number 4. Keeping the car balanced, just waiting on the throttle. The rain is heavy and the track is very, very wet. So we're just tiptoeing through there, but it's much cleaner than we were in Q1 in the dry, weirdly enough. And half a second up. Sutil though, slightly in the racing line as we try and come through. We have to blend out the throttle a touch.
3 minutes remaining.
We run wide, nearly lose the rear end of the car, but actually just about managed to keep it pointing in the right direction. I think the conditions possibly saving us. Coming to a couple more of these sweeping corners, much better here than we were in Q1, though still waiting just to get on the throttle, running wide out of there. But still 0.3 of a second up, so lap looking good. We're still some distance off Mark Webber though, but currently just trying to maintain our position in the top 10, very wide, getting all on the grass there, but bounce across the curb. Still, we've gained so much time in the first couple of sectors that knocking the wall there doesn't mean too much. When we cross the line, maintaining position.
Sector 3 are good, but 1 and 2 are well off the pace. Nice job, we're through to qualifying 3.
Well, rain was absolutely the great equaliser. I'm not sure what is going on the screen, but there we go. We are through into Q3 thanks to the rain. 0.8 of a second off Webber with Hamilton, Button, Alonso, Vettel, Schumacher, Rosberg, Massa and Kubica getting into the top 10 shootout. Petrov, Liuzzi, Sutil, De La Rosa, Buemi, Barrichello and Kobayashi. Alright. Didn't expect to be in Q3, and if it remains wet, maybe we can fight for a decent position. But I feel that if the race is dry, we'll fall like a stone. But let's get into Q3 and see if we can fight for pole. Into the final part of qualifying, and it has dried out, so we're on the option tyres here. I can't imagine we're going to get much further than 10th. But let's go out, try and set a lap, because there may be rain to come, and see if we can at least get off the back row of the top 10. Massively unexpected Q3 appearance, and we know we've got no pace in the dry, so our fastest lap was our first lap of the session. Crossed the line nicely through turns 1 and 2, got ourselves a little bit of breathing space to Rosberg in front, but we'll rapidly catch the Mercedes as he's on an 8th lap, use a little bit of the slipstream just to try and drag us along a little bit quicker as we head down into turn number 3. Car a little unsettled, but we avoid the inside curb and ride along the outside one, not too close there. Heading into turn number 4, somewhere that hasn't been too much of an issue through qualifying so far on our best laps. Again though, just always waiting to get on the throttle, never seem to have the confidence to really gun it. Clip the inside curb there, which unsettles us and means that we're a little out of sequence into the next corner, but we're running alright. Everything so far has been pretty clean and tidy, but we're coming up to a couple more cars on their outlaps. We're now battling into the next corner, Schumacher and Button, the Mercedes and the McLaren. Button eventually backs off, but he's already kind of got in our way a little bit in the previous corner. Schumacher again, a little bit in the way, because we know if we get on the power we're running wide into the Mercedes, and it's in the way completely there. I wouldn't say it cost us a massive amount of time though, as we run very wide, having to go deep to try and pass the German, who's now trying to get around the outside, and we're just all over the shop going through the final sector. And we gun it for the line, and as you'll see, even losing that time wouldn't have made much of a difference. Well, there we are then, P10 in the final shooting.
Good job.
4.5 seconds off. Rain did begin as we were starting our lap, and we did everything we could and then got caught up in some traffic, and that's all the pace I had to give, really. Button takes pole from Alonso, then Vettel, Webber, Hamilton, Massa, Rosberg, Schumacher, Kubica and myself. We've now got to pray for rain going into this race, otherwise we're going backwards quickly. But let's head over to the Korean Grand Prix. Here we are then, in the garage in Yongan for the Korean Grand Prix of 2010, and it is dry, which means that we are probably going to go backwards. But let's take a look at the grid order. It's Button from Alonso, Vettel, Webber, Hamilton, Massa, Rosberg, Schumacher, Kubica, myself, Petrov, Liuzzi, Sutil, Della Rosa, Buemi, Barrichello, Kobayashi, Hulkenberg, Alguersuari, Trulli, Kovalainen, Senna, Chandok, Degrassi. And yeah, it's dry. I was desperately hoping that it would be wet, because that's the only time I think that we can compete with the AI here. Although it might be that quali pace is ridiculous and their race pace is pretty bad. That's the hope. Anyway, what's our aim here then? Well, the team want us to finish it above 18th, or 18th or above. I feel like 18th is probably about all we've got. So, objective here is 18th, even though we're starting 10th. Survive into turn 1, and then see if we can just try and go error-free. But some of these curbs are about 3 stories tall, or at least that's what it feels like, and clipping them is an instant spin. And it's so easy to do, because I keep wanting to just hit the apex and drive, you know, like you normally would. But let's see what happens. Let's head out to the 2010 Korean Grand Prix. Button and Alonso at the front, the 2 Red Bulls just in behind. There's Rosberg, just a couple of spots ahead of us. We're in 10th. Degrassi right at the back as almost usual. Lucked into some spots last time out thanks to retirements. But away we go in Korea, much higher at the grid. Right on the inside into turn 1, we managed to at least hold off Kubica and Liuzzi. Seems to have made a decent start behind us. Trying to use the slipstream on the Mercedes, but they're just not quick enough. Oh, Schumacher pushed him past his teammate. He just sort of pulled back onto the racing line. We're lucky to not have any damage. Della Rosa's in 10th now. We aim to go up the inside of both Mercedes. We at least get one of them. We're up into P8. Decent first few corners there. Very wide there. Schumacher looking one way and another.
Easy when you overtake. If you take someone off, we'll be penalised.
Where on earth did he come from? I thought he'd backed off. Apparently he hadn't. Looking one way and another, Schumacher, but he didn't make it through. We hold on to 8th for now. Kubica back into 10th. Schumacher, I think, has tapped us and gone round. Quite late into turn 1. All the tyres aren't completely up to temp. Rosberg getting away, but we're holding off Kubica, although Rosberg looks like he was going for a bit of a move into turn 1. Renault catch him, we've just got no power down here. Gone too deep trying to defend. Deep into turn 1. Kubica avoids the back of us though. Back of me now, right? Run wide. Kubica thinks about it. Still there. Yep, he's done, mate. Well, the AI don't seem to be able to take that corner. I'll try and use that to an advantage, but now Schumacher's on me as well.
You've got him. Get onto the back of his car and pass him on the straight.
We're way too deep into turn 1. We clip Kubica, pushes him off the road. No damage, but Kubica's fallen behind Schumacher. And now we've got the German on us. Braking just right there. Here comes Schumacher. Kept his nose in. Stand it for now. And wide Schumacher again. Just sweeps around the outside.
Keep your head on the race. Give us 100% and we can get that place back.
We've got no grip and absolutely no confidence anywhere around it. We lose the rear end and we save it. But I think Schumacher's gone now. Yeah, look at him, long gone already. Take a better braking point through turn 1. There goes Kubica.
You've dropped to 10th.
Gave him a little nudge as he picked a side. Side by side with the Renault, but not for very long. We got no grip.
The pit crew are ready for you at the end of this lap. Hit this lap.
We'll pit at the end of this one. I don't think the primes are going to give us much more confidence. So, how many of the trainer cars behind us are going to come in as well? Hopefully a few, so we don't lose out too badly. This pit entry is just horrid.
Slow for the line and put the limiter on. Brakes on for the box.
Leave them in with us. Over Force India Williams Lotus as well. Hold for Kobayashi, held for the Williams as well. And the Force India. We're being held for everyone.
Don't forget to turn the limiter off.
We are stone dead last. Got held in the pits as everybody else left before us. That is frustrating. It's not the first time that's happened this season either. Are we actually going to regain any places for people that have pitted? No. No, we're not. Well, this is going to be a really long end to this one, I think. Oh no. 11 laps to get our first spin of the race. Kovalon's got past Di Grassi up ahead, so Virgin Racing last again.
It's starting to rain. It's just light at the moment, but if it worsens, we'll need to switch to inters or wets.
Well, a 0% chance of rain at the start of this one, and it is starting to rain. Feeling like if there was rain, it's already stopping. That's annoying. Definitely could have done with that. I feel like we're at least quicker than Di Grassi here, so we're just trying to close in on him. This gives us something to aim for the rest of this race. Like that. Car would not turn. The leader's probably about 30 seconds behind us now, 20 maybe. He might catch us before the end. Losing across the curbs. I lose all my time to Di Grassi in this sector. Too late into turn one, not the first time. We are closing on Di Grassi, and with time to spare at the moment. Senna comes out of the pits just in front of our teammate, so that might help us out a bit. Nearly into the back of Di Grassi going into turn one. Oh, it's so much quicker than him now. Where's he going to go? It was defensive, but only a little bit.
Don't take out your teammate.
And box him off road. Already a couple of seconds clear of Di Grassi. As long as we don't make a mistake, which is something we've been very, very privy to this season, we should at least finish ahead of him. What has been a fairly disappointing Korean Grand Prix. I'd say this is probably our true-ish pace though. We got lucky in qualifying. That wet second session putting us into the top 10 shootout. I think if it had been dry, we would have started 17th. I would speculate we'd sink like a stone. Didn't anticipate it would be quite this bad. Very deep into turn one. Somebody coming out of the pits there. Yano Trulli. in the Lotus. Must have been 2 stopping. He's probably going to have the pace advantage on us here anyway. Half spin, that's going to...
You've been black flagged. That's our race over. Head back to the pits.
Not entirely sure how that was corner cutting. I was trying to reverse back out, but we get disqualified from the Korean Grand Prix, so it ends up being very much like Spain.
That's the end of the race for us. Park safely. It's over, mate.
And that, for the second time this season, is a disqualification in a Grand Prix. I span, I lost the rear, tried to reverse back out of the corner and got black flagged for corner cutting, which I think is exactly probably what happened at Barcelona as well. It was a terrible race. So, ending a few laps early, not so bad. Let's take a look at that. What that does to the championships after we've had a look at the results. The normal suspects, the usual suspects down at the back, the Lotus, the Virgin Racing cars and the HRTs. Kovalainen managed to stay on the lead lap. But at the top of the order, Alonso wins from Webber, then Vettel. Webber, I think, has got to be right on the cusp of taking the title. Massa's in 4th. Then Rosberg, Hamilton, Button, Schumacher, Kubica, Petrov all score points, although not many. Liuzzi, Alguersuari, Buemi, Hulkenberg, Sutil, Kobayashi, Barrichello, Della Rosa then. As I say, Kovalainen, Chandok, Senna, Trulli and Degrassi. And then me, black flagged and disqualified. Which, I don't know. I know I'd supposedly corner cut a couple of times, but that seems a little harsh. We remain 9th, but now just 7 points ahead of Vitaly Petrov, fallen further behind Schumacher, who's 19 points clear. The gap at the top, 24 points, with 50 on the table. Webber is on the verge of taking the title. Alonso in 3rd has pulled away from Hamilton, with Massa jumping Button. Then it's Rosberg, then Schumacher, ourselves, Petrov, Kubica, Sutil, Liuzzi, Hulkenberg, Alguersuari, Buemi, Kobayashi. Kovalainen jumps Chandok after a better count-back result here. There's Senna, Barrichello, Della Rosa with points there as well. Trulli and Degrassi remain at the back, still very unlikely to get points. In the Constructors, Force India didn't score, so they remain 11 behind us. We are now, though, 28 behind Renault. As we said, Red Bull already Constructors champions at the 200 points clear of Ferrari, who have practically got 2nd wrapped up from McLaren here. I think Mercedes will finish 4th. I think Renault are going to take 5th. We now just have to hold on for 6th ahead of Force India, Toro Rosso, Williams, Sauber, Lotus and HRT. Well, the Korean Grand Prix delivered so much promise thanks to that unlikely top 10 start. But we get black flagged at Yongyang to have that happen to us for the 2nd time this season. And again, weird. But fine, it happens. We weren't going to be scoring points. We were probably only going to take 23rd at best. So that's not too much of a loss. But next time, a circuit that we should hopefully thrive at is Brazil. That's a circuit I enjoy driving. And then it'll be Abu Dhabi to round the season off. And then we'll be on to 2011 and moving to the Lotus for that one. Come join me for those. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.